Hello everybody and welcome to my recap of Cosmic, up as far as the chapter that is called I Am Half a World Away. So Cosmic begins with our main character Liam Digby, who is 11 years old and unusually tall, generally being mistaken for an adult because of his height. He ends up getting into mischief when, from the very beginning in fact, he narrates the story from a spaceship which is out of control. And so we know from the very start that firstly he has lied to his parents by claiming that he was on a school trip to the Lake District, and more immediately that things have gone terribly wrong on the spaceship that he's on and they are completely doomed. So he's telling this story in flashback. So he starts off with lots of different recalls, recollections of various amusing incidents that have happened because of him looking older than he is. He accidentally takes an assembly after he gets mistaken for a teacher. He is overzealous with his shaving and nearly shaves himself to death through lack of experience, until eventually he masquerades as an adult in order to enter a competition to go on a theme park ride with a child. So at this point he pretends that he is a father and phones up to enter this competition. He ends up winning the competition or getting through to the final, and then realizes that he needs to have a daughter. So he ends up with Florida Kirby, who is his school friend, posing as his daughter. And she is a mixed character. She has some very good traits and some not so good traits. But he doesn't tell her at first how far away this theme park is. So they go on the journey and end up arriving in China, at which point Florida becomes furious at first and then kind of gets on with it. Then the winners all meet up with each other, and so apart from Liam and Florida, it's 3 other fathers and their sons, and they end up having to compete against each other for a place to accompany their child to space. Notes on the characters here. So we've got Liam Digby. Digby happens to be the name of a fictitious dog based on a film where the dog is unusually big. We also have the character of Alan Bean, who was a real astronaut. One of the other dads is called Monsieur Martinet. Martinet is a word which means demanding strict obedience and discipline. We have Samson 1 and Samson 2 being named after a strong character, physically strong. We've got Eddie Xanadu, and Xanadu has lots and lots of different references. It's a word that means an idyllic place, but it's also a cult film. There was a really terrible sort of fantasy film called Xanadu made a few decades ago. Dinah Drax, who is in charge of the mission, may or may not be named after Dinah Drake, who is a DC Comics character, otherwise known as Black Canary. Florida Kirby may be named after a Nintendo character, and Drax itself is a power company that is based in Yorkshire. So these may have been influences on the character names. Cosmic by Frank Cottrell Boyce. I am half a world away. Dr. Drax wanted all the children to move into a special crew house now, opposite the Possibility Building, so that they could get used to living together and to Mrs. Xanadu being their, quote, responsible adult. Florida got a blue crew member suitcase. I watched her running about the bungalow, getting her clothes and toothbrush and stuff together, and I had this really strange feeling in my throat. At first I thought maybe it was some sort of gravity-related problem, but that was daft. We don't have gravity problems on Earth. And then it hit me. Worry. I was worried about Florida Kirby. After all, she was going into space. Without me. Who was going to look after her? I'd just got used to being her dad, and now she was going away. I said, "Are you sure you're going to be all right, Florida?" She said, "All right, I'm going to be famous, like Buzz Lightyear." Buzz Aldrin. Or Laika the dog. She was just some mongrel, but after she became the first animal in orbit, she was the most famous dog ever. They made Laika chocolate bars, Laika soft toys, she was on postage stamps. They wrote songs about her, and she was just a stray. They don't even know what breed she was. Really. There she was, wandering the streets of Moscow with 2 other dogs. The next thing, Laika was really famous, and she was only a dog, she said. Imagine what it's going to be like for us, the first kids in space. What's up with you? She must have seen me flinch. I was thinking, Leica died in space. What if... Oh, I know, said Florida. You're jealous because you're not going. Who says so? I say so. Me? Jealous of you? As if you're not. As if I am. I was acting like a kid. I know that. It seemed easier than doing the dadly thing and telling her I was worried about her. I kept thinking of her sitting on top of a 200-foot firework blasting into orbit. What kind of dad lets his child do that? Then I had to take her to the crew quarters. That was the worst bit, watching her walk away. She didn't even look back and wave. She was chatting happily to Samson too. They looked so tiny as they passed the Possibility Building. I thought of all the times in my life that I had wanted Florida Digby to go away. And here I was, wishing that she'd turn around and come running back. I think that's meant to say Florida Kirby. It was a strange, unhappy thing being on my own in the bungalow that night. I sat up on the couch watching telly all night. Sometimes I'd nod off in the middle of Celebrity Seance and wake up in the middle of Celebrity Dental Check, then nod off again and wake up in a different episode of Celebrity Seance. When the first bit of daylight crept into the room, I thought, right, now I'm allowed to have a bacon butty. I couldn't find actual bacon, but I did find some thin pink meat stuff with "explodes the tongue" written on the packet. The explodes thing must have been some kind of warning though, because the minute I put it on the grill, it burst into flames and all the smoke alarms went off. Standing there in the kitchen with greasy smoke billowing round me and sirens wailing in my ears reminded me of home. Which is probably why I rang my mum. The phone rang for a surprisingly long time before she answered. Hello? She sounded like she'd never heard a phone ring before. Mum, it's me, Liam. Liam, are you okay? Yeah, I'm great. What are you doing? I looked at the timetable for day 6 at the Lakeland Activity Centre, and I said, pond dipping. We went pond dipping, and I caught... I lost my place. A water boatman. That's a big beetle which has seen a steep decline in its population recently. What else? I climbed on the new 50-foot climbing wall and came down on the ever-popular, but very safe, aerial runway. That's great, Liam. And you weren't frightened? It hasn't given you nightmares? No. And you're eating okay? Yeah. Food is plain but wholesome, cooked here on the premises. We're expected to help clean up afterwards. It's a team-building activity. And you're sure you're okay? Yeah, great. Really, really sure? Why do you keep asking if I'm okay? Because you've just rung me up. I can ring you up, can't I? Liam, it's the middle of the night. Oh. Oh, it was the best I could come up with. I put the phone down. I'd completely forgotten about the time difference. I think that was when it hit me that I was half a world away. Compared to where Florida was going, I was just around the corner. I felt really lonely that night. I think it must be the only time I've been in a house on my own at night. And now look, I felt bad on my own in a house. Now I'm on my own in the universe.